Welcome to the Speedway Tavern. Enjoy your stay. Welcome to the Speedway Tavern. What's the news today?
Sometimes in Speedway something happens that transcends the sport and brings us all together. Last Friday was one such occasion. That was when we heard the news that is still shocking and unbelievable. Nigel Pearson was a Speedway man. He never missed a chance to promote this sport of ours. He never missed the chance to talk to anyone, anywhere about his beloved Heathens or Speedway in general. Like Dave Lanning before him, he was the voice of Speedway for us all. Who will ever forget his commentary when Bomber won the British Grand Prix, or his exultant cry of "Waffy, Waffy, Waffy"? It was commentary from the top drawer. Here at the Speedway Tavern, our thoughts are with Nigel's family and friends. Rest in peace, Nigel.
Which I thought was right first, and that was followed by a minute's applause, during which time they played a commentary of Nigel and Kelvin Tatum commentating on that spectacular race at Bellevue with Max Frick.
Right.
Which I thought was pretty much perfect, to be honest. And again at Monmouth last night, a minute's applause, which was introduced, of course, by Porky. I didn't think Porky was going to be able to get through it, to be honest. He was really, really struggling, as you expected.
Mm-hmm. It's a hard thing to do.
I had a text on Friday afternoon from my mate Steve at Wolves, and he's just to say, have you heard about Nigel Pearson? Mm-hmm. I thought it was going to be something like he decided not to do the Speedway this year, or that he was going to focus more on the darts. So I had to look at my phone and couldn't believe it when I saw the news.
Shocking.
Complete
whoa.
shock. We saw him at Perry Bar a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, both.
And fine. He was looking forward to the season.
Looked on good form, to be honest.
I mean, I met Nigel on a couple of occasions because, like him, I started obviously my broadcasting career in hospital radio at Walsall. Nigel had obviously been with Walsall from 91 to about 93. He also worked at Dudley Hospital Radio as well. Fronted the sports show at both stations. With Walsall, it was with Warwick Mead, who was also, as any Wolves fans from an older vintage will know, Warwick was a massive Speedway fan as well. Dudley was probably where he was probably more best known for, because of course I think he did go back to Dudley 4 or 5 years ago to do a one-off show with another chap from Walsall, Steve Peacock. They fronted the sports show there for quite a few years. So that's what was good about Nigel, was the fact that for all the success that he had at Sky and Talk Sport and BT Sport and doing all the other things that he did during his career, he never forgot his roots. And he was genuinely interested in the fact that I was starting in the same place that he'd started all those years ago. I'm fortunate enough to have, although I never worked with Nigel on a professional basis, to have known people who worked with Nigel at WHR, and they all spoke very, very highly of him.
I believe you've got an interview with...
Yeah, I spoke to my old boss, Andy Duckhouse, on Saturday. I didn't want to do it on the day because just taking in the news, it was going to be too much, really. I spoke to Andy. Andy was at Walsall for over 30 years and was there when Nigel first arrived in 1991, and I spoke to Andy about his memories of Nigel, and this is what he had to say.
Shock news of the sad passing of Nigel Pearson has completely shocked everybody who knew him, supporters, family, friends, former colleagues, current colleagues, and I'm pleased to say that I'm now joined by one of Nigel's earliest colleagues, and of course one of my former colleagues at Walsall Hospital Radio, Andy Duckhouse. Andy, you must have felt the same as everybody else when the news broke yesterday.
It was a shock. I mean, it was only a short while ago that he was commentating on the Darts of Sky for the Premier League.
It was indeed, yeah. I think he was only working on Thursday, actually. He'd been at Bellevue for the launch of the media launch of the new Speedway season, and people said there he was on good form, really, really good form. But your path at first crossed with Nigel, was it very early 90s or was it even late 80s?
No, it was very early 90s that he joined the station. I was aware that he was, because he used to work for the Express and Star.
That's right.
And he was covering, football stories from the Hawthorns and also from Molyneux. Of course, he was covering Speedway as well. And didn't he cover Crazy Heath as well?
Well, he was a crazy man. I mean, that was really his first love in terms of Speedway, I think. Although, of course, he did originally come from Hull, and he'd grown up watching the Hull Vikings as well. But certainly in his time for the Midlands, he was very much a crazy supporter. But I mean, your first impressions when you first met him. I mean, I've seen people who've talked about what a lovely guy he was, what a consummate professional he was, and I know from the times that I met him. Did you find that as well?
Yeah, he was a really nice guy. I remember he used to do the country program on WHR, and back in 91, me and some of the lads went played five-a-side football at the five-a-side football place in Bloxbridge Lane in Walsall, and a couple of times Nigel came along and played a couple of the games.
Was he good?
From what I can remember, yeah.
I mean, I don't think you were involved as much on the sports team as you would have been when certainly when I joined in 2001, mate. But did you ever broadcast with him?
I didn't broadcast with him. That's what I say, he was 91, and I sort of became really involved in the sports team from the mid-90s.
That's right.
Onwards. So I didn't actually broadcast much with him, but I did see him a few times on the radio. I say, he's a nice guy. Always responsive, always pleasant to speak to. Always had time for you as well.
I mean, most people obviously know about his hospital radio days, but he's generally, I think, more associated with Dudley. But of course, I believe he was one of the front members of the sports show at Walsall, along with Warwick Mead, of course, who was a passionate man about Speedway. I mean, the show in those days, it was a lot with hospital radio at the time. It was a real social thing and a real big thing at the time as well.
I think he was at Sandwell as well for a time.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
He may have been, yeah.
So, he was all-round consummate sports broadcaster and sports fan as well. He loved his Speedway, liked his football. He enjoyed watching quite a few sports.
Absolutely. I mean, as I say, Nigel wasn't with WHR for very long. He was obviously he'd long gone by the time I started. But I mean, you watched his success afterwards. I mean, he's worked with Sky, Talk Sport. Of course, he'd taken over from Dave Clark as the frontman for the darts coverage as well. I mean, were you surprised at Nigel's success, or knowing what he was like in those early days, did you expect him to go as far as he did?
No, you could always say he was a consummate broadcaster, and he was going to go far in the world of broadcasting. Of course, he covered the Speedway also for BT Sport. Because you said earlier on that the Speedway is now covered by Discovery. Was he doing the Speedway for them as well?
He was planning to be working with Discovery as well. Yeah, that had obviously been announced ironically just a few days ago that he was on board to do that. So yeah, as I say, I mean, it just came as a complete shock when I saw the news yesterday, and I know it came for you as well. I mean, obviously you'd known him for a lot longer than me, although I don't think you were as much in touch with him as you would have been during the days when you were together at Walsall.
Well, that's right. I mean, 52, that's no age.
It is no age, no. I mean, it's such a sad loss, and I think all of our hearts and prayers go to his family at this really awful time.
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. I mean, of course, Nigel's always going to be remembered with fondness. He's always a personable bloke. As I said earlier, had time for everybody. Was always pleasant to speak with.
What you saw really was what you got with Nigel, because you heard him when he was doing his commentaries, and he was passionate. He had a naturally loud voice anyway, but that sort of came over in his broadcasting. Is that how he came over away from that on a social aspect?
Oh, definitely. I mean, as I said earlier on, a couple of times he come and played football with us back in 1991. So, he was, personal bloke, and always willing to get involved with things with the station, and not just on the broadcasting side.
Well, I think that's a great place to leave it there. As I say, obviously everybody on we send our thoughts and prayers, as I say, to Nigel's family and his friends. And well, Andy, thanks for joining us on the Speedway Tavern, and we wish you the best.
And you take care, Matt, and all the best, obviously, to Speedway Tavern. It's a pity that obviously it wasn't to discuss something on a more happy basis. But as I say, as you said, thoughts and prayers and best wishes.
Thanks, Andy.
Towards Nigel's family.
Yeah, thanks, Andy.
Well, there you go. Says it all, I think.
Yeah.
I believe we've got a few comments. Probably turn your mic up as well.
There you go. Can you hear me
There you
now?
go. That's better.
Nigel was a very genuine bloke who was a pleasure to work for and always encouraged everybody, said Derek Turner. Totally and utterly gutted. Anthony Baylor, Nigel done more for Speedway than anyone else. He was a real top bloke and will be missed. The programme notes he did in several programmes up and down the country showed his passion he had for Speedway. It was very informative and usually echoed the comments of the fans, supporters up and down the country. Of his last programme notes in Bellevue's programme, speaking about how he was fully behind Curtis Sports, trying to get younger fans involved with the sticker albums, and he feels there needs to be more done to entertain the kids at Speedway in between the 15 heats. They're the next generation of fans. Massive loss to the sporting family, says Reginald. So very sad. Great loss to Speedway. We miss his banter with Calvin. Can never forget him shouting, "Woofy, woofy, woofy." The voice of Speedway will miss him so much. Thinking of his family at this sad time. R.I.P. Nigel.
Yeah.
There were so many of them, wasn't there? There was, woofy, 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 no mistake at all. There's plenty of other ones as well. That sort of you immediately think of when you hear them. You think, well, only he would have come up with something like that.
Yeah. He had his catchphrases.
Let's obviously extend our thoughts as well to Calvin Titan. Calvin's, I think, has been very, very hasn't obviously put much on social media since Friday, but. They were obviously a team. I think they, sometimes they brought the worst out of each other, but I think more often than not they brought the best out of each other. To be honest, they were a good team.
You could hear the genuine friendship between them, couldn't you, when they was talking to each other? And sometimes it was like, and I loved that. Sometimes it was just like you was listening to a conversation between two mates just watching Speedway.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
So it should be.
yeah, that's it.
So
well loved, and darts as well.
I mean, you think about what Nigel's had to do. He's had to replace two legends of commentary in two different sports: Dave Lanning, which I mentioned earlier, and then Chris Waddell.
Yeah, Sid Waddell.
In the darts. So, but he's become the voice of both those sports, really. Very sad, very sad.
Rest in peace, Nigel, says Anders McFarlane. Back of the net, says Derek Turner.
Back of the net, that's another one.
Back of the net. Yeah, I mean, keep chucking those out.
Yeah.
Let's remember. Let's celebrate as well as. I mean, it's a sad time, obviously, but let's celebrate his life. So, give us any of your.
The one thing I will
thoughts.
say, as I was saying to Andy on the phone on Saturday, obviously Nigel started his life as a Speedway fan watching the whole Vikings, of course, and this would have been when the great Ivan Major was there and so nearly dragged them to the league championship in '79. But he obviously became an adopted Midlander, and he was, he made no bones about the fact that his heart from a Midlands perspective was with Gradley. His allegiances were with the green and white half of the Black Country, but he had a lot of very, very good friends at Wolverhampton as well, and at Birmingham, and at Coventry.
Absolutely.
He was well liked by all those clubs, and as people have said, he was in a time in a sport really where a lot of people seem to want to do it down. He was a great champion of being. I think I saw somebody put a post on social media afterwards saying that they'd heard him obviously doing some of the stuff at Bellevue last week for the media launch day.
Yeah.
And about how positive he was, and they were thinking, well, how can you be so positive about the fact that we've got 6 teams? But at the end of the day, that was his job. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
his job was to try and be positive and and keep fighting the cause for the sport.
Absolutely. I like Craig Smee's comment there, which
Classic, isn't it? Kelvin and Nigel with the Anton deck of Speedway. It won't sound the same without them.
yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, what's Calvin going to do? I mean,
Well, I don't really want to really speculate on that too much, to be honest, at the moment.
it must be very difficult.
There's
to-
obviously a couple of weeks to go before I think the first TV matches. Of course, you've got the Grand Prix coming up as well next week.
Yeah.
So I'm sure whatever Kelvin Tatum decides, he'll get a huge amount of support from his bosses, from his family.
Certainly from the
into
fans.
what he does. Yeah,
Am I right in
absolutely.
saying that he was commentating the night before on darts?
I think it was the week before. I think
was
it
it?
was a
Right.
week on Thursday that he was doing the
Right. Okay.
commentary for the darts. Yeah. So, but I mean, he loved his darts as well. I mean,
Yeah.
I think Speedway was always his big love.
Yeah, it's his
in all
passion.
the sports that he covered. You know, he was a big.
Always
Baggies-
come
obviously, I
across.
know he was a big Baggies fan, and you know, he obviously loved his darts as well. But I think if you'd have asked him what his real love was, I think he would have always said Speedway.
Yeah, I mean that came over in
Yeah.
everything that he said, and I mean it's like he's always down the tracks as well.
Yeah.
I mean he was down to Birmingham the last time the Leicester match with all that rain and everything, but he was there and then
Yeah, with his pint of Guinness.
with his pint of Guinness.
I've seen so many of his colleagues that have been posting photographs of pints of Guinness as well, haven't they?
Right?
So
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
I think your
I've
mate
seen them now.
Ian Dante did actually as well. So,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
'cause
I noticed.
Dante was very, very close to Nigel,
Very,
wasn't he? So,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Big
Right.
loss, big
Would
loss.
you like to tell everybody? I mean, most people seem to have worked it out, judging by you let everybody know how they can participate.
Okay, so a lot of you are watching this now on Facebook, on all good Speedway Facebook pages, and they're brilliant, and groups. You can also watch us on YouTube Live as well, if you're not already doing that, if that's your preference. And from tomorrow, you'll be able to catch up via Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Acast, Apple. Did I ever said Apple? Yeah, Spotify,
Probably.
and a lot more of your favourite streaming services. That's the word I was looking for.
And if you want to take part, you can just put a message up on Facebook,
Of course you can.
or on the
You can phone in if
the
you
shout
like.
box on the website. And we actually, if you want to phone in, anybody wants to share any memories of Nigel, just talk about Speedway in general.
Yep.
How do they do that?
Okay, so there is a messaging system now on this stream, so they can just, if you can see on the right hand side there, it just says send a message.
Yes.
They can do the same with us. So if they want to send a message,
Yep.
just give me your phone number and I'll phone you back.
There you go.
Easy as that.
Simple as that.
Easy as that.
Simple as that.
Brilliant.
Not just another thing as well on the way that Nigel started his career. Hospital radio at the time was probably a really good learning curve for me in the sense of, today you look at radio stations. I mean, people like us, you've got social media, you've got Twitter, you've got Facebook, so it's interacting between them is a lot easier. But it wasn't quite as easy when Nigel started at Walsall. And of course, in those days, you had to sort of be a ward walker. You had to go out onto the wards to sort of meet patients and get requests and things like that. So I think that was a good learning curve in interacting with the public as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, you learn from everything, don't you? Craig Smee says, I sincerely hope Calvin continues his commentary. I think whoever comes in next to Calvin will have big shoes to fill. Didn't Phil Lanning used to do the commentary before Nigel and Calvin a few years ago? I think that's Dave Lanning.
Yeah, obviously.
Phil's Dave Lanning's son, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah. Who's actually did some commentary on the British Speedway network last week, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we might come on to that at some point.
Yeah. And the Speedway network as well. How that's going. Subject.
Yeah, well, yeah. Brian Buck says, dare we hope that Perry Bar will stay dry tomorrow night?
Yeah,
Yes.
it was a massive blow to lose that picture last week, wasn't
Wasn't
it?
it?
So much planning had gone into
I was actually went down the track to help out with getting the tyres off.
Yeah.
God, that was a game and a half. And it was unraceable.
Yeah.
It was just unraceable.
It was such a deluge. I mean, we got nothing here.
Did you not? Did where I was.
Absolutely
And when it came down, it was like a
I
monsoon.
saw the pictures. I thought, I thought, wow.
It was like
nothing.
a monsoon. Somebody up there don't like us.
We had a sharp shower at Mumba about an hour before the start, and that did affect the track in the first few races, which was, uncanny because it wasn't forecast, and it had been such a good day as well in terms of weather. It's certainly good in Manchester.
Well, yeah, we shall see tomorrow.
Yeah.
Important day.
Yeah, important match for the club, I think. So, very important match.
Well, let's get on to other Speedway matters. GP start next week.
Yes, it does, yeah.
Of course, we don't know now who's going to be commentating on it. Hope Calvin at least manages to comment on the one if he doesn't want to do any more, but because that would be sort of a tribute in itself, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
but it's up to him.
Yeah,
it's up to
him.
him.
It's not really up for debate, I don't think, at the moment. It's the ball's in his court, I think.
Absolutely. Dave Rowe seems the obvious choice to do lead comms, but like someone who said previously, big shoes to fill. I did well there to get out of that half a second.
You
that
were
showed
thinking
it,
as well. Well
done. Dave Rowe. What about Guesty? That would be interesting.
But yeah,
because he's obviously part of Nigel's.
It's difficult for both of them, weren't they? Because both of them looked up to him so much, and to fill his shoes in such awful circumstances, it would be be very, very difficult.
Yeah. Peter Clark says, will British Speedway honour Nigel?
Well, I'd certainly like to think so, because he did more to promote. He did as much to promote Speedway as anybody else in this country.
Absolutely. Well, okay, that's an interesting. So let's have your thoughts out there. How could British Speedway? What would be the best way for British Speedway to honour Nigel? My first initial thought is that the British Championship could be the Nigel Pearson British Championship. That would be a good way of doing that. But other people's thoughts on that?
Yeah.
So where were Nigel's roots in Speedway? Where did he start?
Hull.
Where?
Hull.
Hull. Okay.
That's obviously where he grew up. Obviously, then Hull closed, and I think his family moved down to the Midlands, and he obviously adopted Craigie as his club. Then, the earliest memory I've got of Nigel is doing the announcing at Wolves. He did that for quite a few years, and then obviously when he became busier with other things, he sort of stepped away from that.
Yeah.
So that's why he's got such a strange accent.
He's just been around Speedway, it seems like, for years, doesn't it, in one way or the other? Decades.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're all a bit subdued.
Jeff Daniels says, "I would." Yeah, well, it is. Yeah. It is. It literally was. No,
it's a shocker.
You what?
Yeah.
Am I reading? Because I first found out about it when I was watching Speedway updates, and I got that up, and they mentioned it on the Speedway updates because I was watching the Red Car Birmingham match.
Yeah.
And somebody mentioned it on that, and I said, "Well, you know what some of the Speedway fans are like." Sometimes I thought, "Are you sure?" So I immediately did a Google, and
it was true.
Where? Jeff Daniels says he would like to see a memorial plaque at each and every stadium. How permanent would that be with the way that stadium's closed?
That's the only problem with that, I think, isn't it? So.
Yeah. Craig Smee says, I think the first televised meeting with Eurosport should be a tribute. Yeah, I'd have the Nigel Pearson British final this season. Seems a good idea. I was more thinking of having it always being called the Nigel Pearson. That would be fitting, I think, something like that. I think the first, it will be, won't it? They will do. Surely they will do a tribute.
They'll
to
do
him.
something. They will do something. I'm fairly certain of that.
Elliot Hunt is talking. I believe he's talking about tomorrow's meeting against Berwick at Birmingham. They're doing 15 races with 11 second half scheduled ones. Free Easter egg for the first 50 kids through the door. Appearance from Paw Patrol character, close-up magician, and launch of the Brummy Bear Cubs Club tomorrow at Brummies and Centre Green. Experience to purchase too. Going to be a good one against Berwick tomorrow. Harrison Flint back at Brummies riding for Berwick.
Yep, of course.
The reason we're having trouble
Yes,
reading
please.
this is because for some reason, with Facebook, they've changed the format where you get all the comments stay one line.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just can't change it.
We'll have to sort that out. Somebody suggested on British Forum to name one of the cup competitions after him.
It's a possibility,
That's a
yeah.
possibility, yeah. And Speedway Updates have done Heat 14 as supported by Nigel Pearson as a tribute.
That's a great
I'd
idea.
seen a couple of them had done it. I didn't realise whether all of them had done it. So, but that's
And
good.
Simon Corbett says they should do something at the Cardiff GP. Yes, they
Well,
should.
the Cardiff GP is probably, as you've said earlier, was where probably his most iconic speedo commentary was.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they definitely should do something.
down the back straight, it doesn't get any better than this. He's locking up on the inside. Have we
Yeah.
got a British winner? Yes.
Yes. Yeah. And the excitement in his voice when he was saying those words as well.
Absolutely,
was
yeah.
absolutely genuine.
Sorry, I think we had a.
Okay,
I think-
I'm not going to read that
No,
comment.
no, I think we've got a bit of a.
Someone's hacked us, I
I'll
think.
tell
So.
you what,
I
he's
think so,
desperate
yeah.
if he's looking at.
Well, it has been filtered out for most people, but
Yeah, okay.
not for Mo, not for others. There you go.
Okay. Alan Atherton will do it. But a lot of people don't understand what we're talking about.
No,
Probably
no,
don't want
sorry,
to understand
No,
either.
no,
So
no. Just say we've got a spell.
An additional Nigel Pearson trophy for winner at Cardiff. Why can't the trophy be called the Nigel Pearson Trophy anyway?
yep. We have got a match on tonight, by the way, as Elliot's.
Oh yes,
out.
Plymouth
Plymouth,
36, Leicester 18.
bit of a surprise.
That is a surprise.
Well, of course, Leicester that was a coup and buster on Friday. Leicester getting beaten by 20 at Scunthorpe.
It was, yeah. I don't think did any of us pick that.
I think Elliot was the only one who got that
Right.
Scunthorpe would win.
There was a couple of surprises.
There was
wasn't
one of them.
There was another big surprise as well.
There was,
wasn't there? The one that you both laughed at me when I picked. Remember?
I remembered laughing at it. I remember. Did you get that one? Did you? Wow.
Yeah, kept winning at Peterborough.
Did they really?
Not only that, but you got the score right as well.
Wow. I'm not playing anymore.
You haven't seen the table yet.
Oh no, you don't want to see it.
We will obviously get on to this week's predictions
Yeah,
in
yeah.
due
And
course.
talking about that comment that we're not talking about, Craig Smith says, "Can you help put an air fence up at Sheffield first?" I think you should have left it up, to be honest.
Oh dear.
Let's have a look at what's going on at Plymouth anyway. It's
Okay.
Elliot's put on, it's currently 36-18 in favour of the Plymouth
That
Devils.
does surprise me.
It does, yes, certainly does. Let's find out some more
Let's see
on that
what's
then.
been happening.
Talk amongst yourselves for a minute while I.
Actually, while you're doing that, because we'll have to get the fixtures up soon, won't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, you just want to get them up.
No, not the tables fixture.
Okay.
But I'll put the tables up so that people can have a quick look and a quick laugh.
Okay. Dear me, I'm not happy about.
Apologies if it's difficult to read. Obviously, we had a lot of fixtures last week, and that's as I did do a lot of sort of work on that last night, but I just couldn't. That's probably as clear as we could get it.
Yeah. There's you, Mike. There. Okay.
Yeah, I
Can you
can
see you
see-
there,
yeah,
Mike?
yeah.
Mike, you're there. Can you see you?
You've
Mike,
gone
you're
to
there.
4 places to be fair.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, there's me. There's me.
Yeah.
There's me. See
You're
me,
doing
number
well,
9.
Matt.
I'm at number 9.
I'm
I am,
not
Mike.
happy.
Number 9.
Yeah, Simon's obviously returned to form. He's back on the top.
He's back on top. He's going to be the man to beat, isn't he, this season again?
I'm just going to follow his predictions, I think.
So if you wonder why you fall down the table, Simon, that's why. So.
People will be following my predictions, I tell you. Again.
Let's just calm down a little bit, shall we?
Yeah.
Yeah, 40-20 now is the score down at
Okay.
Plymouth. Nick Morris and Carl Howarth have not done so well tonight. Only 1 point for Nick Morris from 2 rides, 4 points for Carl Howarth from 3 rides. So I've only had 2 race winners, Leicester. That's Anders Rowe and Carl Howarth. So, bit of a surprise, that one. I don't know whether
Is it just a bogey track for them?
Yeah, I mean, I was just saying, Leicester got beaten at Sunthorpe, didn't they, on Friday? So, yeah.
Maybe confidence has taken a hit then. Yeah, there's been a few strange ones.
Well, I suppose the people might well look at that and think, well, does that prove that Leicester's a bit of a track with the home advantage? So
well,
obviously
I think we know that.
Yeah.
But, okay.
Yeah,
got that wrong.
Simon's obviously wishing now, because he did message last night to say that he wanted to change the score at Plymouth, because he did actually go for a Plymouth win, but he changed it for a Leicester win. So.
Did he?
Yeah.
Is that allowed?
Don't change your mind.
I'm sure paragraph 3, phase 9, sentence 3, B46 says you can't.
And yet he did. Strange.
Yes. So, unfortunately.
There's a picture of Nigel in Hull race jacket on here.
Yep.
And there's a link there to a good read.
You've got to link it, as well.
Okay.
Apparently Palm Tuft got injured last night.
Yeah, I think that possibly played a part in Kings Lynn winning at Peterborough, to be honest.
Oh, wow, another.
Certainly didn't expect that. I mean, they were 6 points up after 2 races, so they kept it going, to be fair. Need a big season now, Kings Lynn, because it was an absolute disaster. 2021 wasn't it? For bottom of the league, quite some way adrift. It took them quite a while to get a point in the league last season, so big start for them.
Absolutely. Why is a club like Poole in the Championship rather than the Premiership? It's a good question.
I think it's because they want to stay riding on the Wednesday nights, and of course they had to move to Thursday in the top league,
right? Because
of the decision to go fixed nights.
That's a weird one.
Yeah. Well, by all accounts, they've had good crowds since they've dropped into the Championship. But then again, they're winning, so different league, but they're still, you never ever discount Poole out of anything. So
Basso wasn't there; he was riding in Denmark.
Okay. How bad was the injury? He's not had much luck with injuries, has he? The last few years,
last year, didn't he? So
I mean, we send our thoughts to him.
Yep.
Particularly as he doesn't ride for Red Car. Oh, I've done it again, haven't I?
Sake.
I'm sorry.
I like the fact that your phone's Red Car colours anyway, so... He hadn't spotted that, has he?
It's also Birmingham colours.
I can't see the yellow on there, so...
Shut up. Okay. So, let's talk about some matches that we've both been to.
Yep.
Mine was a washout, so that's that one finished. You had a good night on Monday.
A good morning as well at Bellevue. Obviously a long trip up to Manchester. Great to be back at the National Speedway Stadium. Obviously first time I've been there in 3 years. Really good crowd, and plenty of Wolves fans made the journey. And Wolves, apart from I think after heat 4-5 when Bellevue managed to get level, Wolves led the meeting all the way through. Never more than 2-4 points in it. Biggest lead Wolves had was after the last heat, getting the 5-1 in that last heat, which I was a bit concerned, obviously, with Sam Masters going in the last heat off gate 1, because the gate 1 at Bellevue at the end of the meeting was like marble. There was nothing on it at all. So I was a bit concerned there, but to be fair, he made a really good start, and Ryan Douglas as well was absolutely superb. Third in his first race. He started really well, hasn't he? Third in his first race, and then reeled off 4 really, really good wins, and was really convincing as well. And a good performance as well from Stevie Worrell, of course, on his former track. He hasn't had the best of starts to his time at Wolves, but on his old stomping ground, really did was gating really well. To be honest, as well. In terms of racing, it took a little bit of time to get going, I thought, but towards the end of the meeting, again, we saw some. I
think that's a tendency.
Fantastic racing. Yeah, I saw some fantastic racing at Bellevue. It's just, I think riders there are just confident that they can race. To be honest, there's so much room. There's so many racing lines. In the end, a very good win, and obviously a good win last night as well, in not the easiest of conditions, of course. As I say, the rain that came down about an hour before the start sort of made the track wet, and sort of was a bit difficult to ride in initially, but they did a lot of work on it after heat 3, and the track was, again, saw some good decent racing at Monmouth last night, and but I think Bellevue, I believe Bellevue will be making some changes before the start of the league campaign, because that Bellevue team will not get into the top 4 for me. It's just not enough strength in depth really. Charles Wright rode very well last night at Monmouth, I should say. He got 13, I think.
Okay.
Reeled off 4 wins in his first 4 races there, was pretty much untouchable, to be honest. Lucky for him, he did have a good night, because they would have been on the end of a real big defeat, Bellevue, last night. So he's had a good start to the season on a track that he doesn't normally do that well at, but certainly found the line last night.
Do you think the downpour before might have helped him with that?
Well, possibly, yeah. I mean, Wolves. All the years I've been watching Wolves, you're always a bit wary of Wolves on a wet track, especially at home, to be honest. But no, it's as Elliot said, he really enjoyed the lunchtime meeting. Superb racing, superb performance by the Wolves lads. I was on the back straight. That's for me is the best place to watch the Speedway from Bellevue, because you get a real impression of the speed as they're coming off the bend. Okay. I don't think you've been to the NSS yet.
I still haven't been. Yeah, I still haven't been. I am at some point this year. Hopefully, I will make that trip down.
Yep.
On my brand new motorbike.
I read MPT went head first into the air fence, lay still for a few moments, but got up. Could have been concussion, says.
Well, if he was concussed, he'll be out for a week or so, won't he?
Yeah, that's right.
Simon says, I put in the comments, how can Jay Etheridge ride in the team at Bellevue and the reserve at Berwick?
Your first chance to say your catchphrase.
Only in Speedway. I had noticed that, and if it hadn't been for Nigel, I may well have led with that on my comments. And there's another one as well. We've got... we had 2 reserves in the higher league as well. I had one reserve, one of our reserves. I'll get it right.
Yeah.
Is a reserve in the higher league as well. How does that work? Any more comments?
Yep. I seen someone mention on a fan forum about Niels Christian Iverson. Being the injured replacement at Kings Lynn or Kilderman, but Kilderman is back now and rode at the weekend. Should he have been back for Kings Lynn last night?
Depends on the terms of the deal, I suppose, doesn't it? So,
was he riding elsewhere last night?
Everson, I would say, definitely strengthens Kings Lynn.
Elliot says, I really enjoyed the lunchtime meeting. Superb racing and superb performance by the Wolves lads. I had a super view right on the start line. Bellevue battled hard too. Evening meeting was much harder with the heavy downpour, ruined the conditions. Got better from Heat 4 onwards. Another close one. 2 good wins for the lads. Allen and Etheridge are struggling, so wonder what changes Bellevue.
I would say, Jake Allen, I would say, he's probably... not going to be with Bellevue for a particularly long period of time. He's really struggled in the morning meeting as well. Just didn't look on the pace at all, to be honest.
Has he got a championship place, Jake Allen?
He has. I'm trying to remember where it is now.
Somebody out there will tell us.
Yeah. We should know these things, shouldn't we, really? Because we do. We are apparently experts.
Hang on.
He knows how to tell them, doesn't he?
Hang on.
He didn't say expert
Yes,
at what, though?
All right.
Yeah, Scunthorpe.
That's
Thanks,
Scunthorpe. Okay.
Elliot.
Thank you very much, Elliot.
One change has to happen at least. Alan for Zagar is the noises coming out at the moment. I'd also change Etheridge as well. Get someone stronger in at number 2, says Craig Smith.
Well, Zagar coming in would give Bellevue with frickin' Kurtz quite strong top 3, to be honest. Admittedly, it's still going to be the same Matty Zagar that rode for Bellevue 6 years ago. Obviously, he's not in the GPs anymore, so that sort of would make sense. Him coming back, but that would certainly strengthen them in at the top end, because I think they sort of struggle with the fact that they didn't have a third 8 leader last night in both matches. Really, Charles Wright stepped up to the plate, as I say, last night, but wasn't enough for Bellevue.
I rate Charles Wright. I think he's a decent.
Yeah,
rider.
He's obviously won the British Championship in 2019. Of course, didn't defend it the year later, but he's shown a lot of promise, I think, in the last few years, Charles Wright.
Simon Corbett says predictions, please.
Well, we should probably get onto them now because we've only got another 15 minutes to go.
Have we really? Well, okay, let's get onto them. While you're sorting that out, I'll just let everybody know if you want to take part, even if you haven't taken part before, just shove your predictions up and you'll be part of the league table. We think is it already a foregone conclusion now who's going to win?
Of course, yes. Me?
Oh yeah, you're too cocky.
Yeah, just
just
a reminder as well. 2 points if you get the score exactly right. 1 point if you get the result right. Even if you get the score wrong. So
okay, here we go then.
Okay, so the first one is the meeting that you'll be at tomorrow.
Can I just say that if you do miss it now, don't worry about not putting it on this thread. Just put it on the page.
That's right. Yeah.
Or group.
And don't copy Matt.
Which one's third in the table at the moment? Birmingham against Berwick is the first one.
Okay, I'm going to let the master go first.
Okay, I'll go Berwick by 10.
Ooh.
Did you say Berwick by 10?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's psychology, isn't it, that one?
Yeah. Strange, because I'm going to go by 10 as well, but for Birmingham.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Birmingham by 6 on that one.
Going by, you're not using your head, you're going by your... No, you're using your head, didn't you?
Dave tries
presupposing I've got a head. Yeah.
I think that's into Chris Brown's...
You'll all be laughing. You all laughed at me last week.
Okay, next one. What match this will be? Oxford against Poole.
Oh, we should say it was great to see Oxford start last week.
Yeah, sold out again, of course. Yeah. That is the live streaming match as well, so that'll be a cracker at Cowley.
I'll watch it when I get back home. If I ever get back home, because those tyres. Anyway,
okay.
Up to me. Oxford versus Poole. That's a hard one to call.
Yeah,
I'm going to say 2 points to Oxford. I think it's going to be a cracker.
I'm going to say 2 points, but the other way around. 2 points to Poole. That could go either way, I think. I mean, Poole absolutely thumped Oxford.
I'll go 4 points. 4 points to Oxford.
Okay.
Okay,
next one is Kings Lynn against Peterborough. Peterborough will be out for revenge in that one.
Yeah, that's some strange results going on at Peterborough. It's up to you to go.
Peterborough by 6.
Kings Lynn by 4.
What? No, I shouldn't do that, should I, sir?
I'm going to say Peterborough by 4.
Okay.
See where I pull away.
Next up, Glasgow against Berwick.
Glasgow versus Berwick. It's up to you, Chris.
I'll go Glasgow by 6.
I'm going to say Glasgow by 8.
Glasgow by 10, I'll go for.
Okay, we've got a few on there. We've got Oxford by 6, Poole by 10, Lynn by 8, Glasgow by 10.
Okay, next up, this will be an interesting one. Redcar against Leicester.
Yeah, because not showing well at the moment. Leicester.
On the road.
Surprise.
Not on the road, anyway.
Yeah.
I think is it up to me, that one?
No, it's up to me, that one. I'm going to say, just because their track's so different to Leicester, and it's a difficult track anyway, I'm going to say Redcar, I beg your pardon, by 16.
I've gone for Redcar in that one as well, by 10.
I'll go Redcar by 8.
We've got Glasgow by 16, by Simon Corbett. Rich Tom, he put his up before I get a chance.
Yeah,
I can't copy him. Rich Thomas Redcar by 8. Tom Howells Redcar 40. Leicester 50.
Okay.
And Simon Corbett Redcar by 10. Next one.
Scunthorpe against Birmingham. Tough one for the Brummies, that one.
Are you up to?
It's actually up to Matt.
Scunthorpe by 2.
Okay, I'd probably settle for that.
I'll go Scunthorpe by 6.
We've got a few ex-Scunny riders, haven't we?
Yep.
I'm going to say a draw.
Yeah, I do wonder whether Josh Hawty might be going there with a point to prove, to be honest, after losing his place there last year.
And he's improved a little bit.
Yeah, he rode better, I thought, the other week against Leicester, didn't he? So,
he didn't do too bad against
Redcar either.
Redcar. So.
Yep, okay. Next one, Edinburgh against Newcastle.
Edinburgh versus Newcastle.
I'll go Edinburgh by 6.
Edinburgh by 20.
and by 16. I know people who watch the Glasgow Newcastle stream. They've commented that Newcastle already just look a totally dispirited outfit, really.
Yeah,
so yeah.
Well, I mean, there was people wheeling bikes back and nobody coming out to replace them, and it
tough times for Newcastle. It's going to be a tough season.
I hope I'm wrong.
Yep.
I hope they pull it back.
Okay, next one is Berwick against Oxford.
I'm going to say Berwick by 4.
Berwick by 10.
I'll go Berwick by 8.
So we got a few things up. Scunthorpe by 18, says Simon Corbett. Craig Triplett says Wolverhampton for the league this year.
Good man.
I think he's a drunk.
I think Sheffield for the league this year. Rich Thomas, Edinburgh by 18. Rich Thomas, Berwick by 12. And Simon Corbett, Berwick by 16. And the next one?
Next one, this will be a good one. Leicester against Glasgow.
Yeah, it will.
Paul ran Leicester close, didn't they, on Saturday night?
They did, yeah. And it's up to you.
Leicester by 10.
I'll go Leicester by 6.
I'm going to say Leicester by 8.
Next up,
Yep.
we're dropping into the NDL now. Mildenhall against Kent.
And it's Chris, you'll go.
I'll go Kent by 6.
I'll go Mildenhall by 6.
Okay, can I have my go first?
No, you can't.
I'm going to say...
Next one is...
I'm going to say Kent by 2. Okay.
Next one, Newcastle against Oxford.
Ouch, doesn't get any easier for Newcastle, does
Yeah.
it? Oxford by 4.
I'm going to go Newcastle by 4 on that one.
I'll go
Just
Oxford.
because it's the track.
Newcastle obviously is with the home track advantage, I think, so in that sense.
I'll go Oxford by 4.
Okay.
We've got a few. Leicester by 10, Mildenhall 47, Kent 43. Tom Howells, Simon Corbett says Mildenhall by 10. Rich Thomas says Mildenhall by 6. Rich Thomas says Oxford by 6. And Simon Corbett says Oxford by 4. Okay.
Next one, Kings Lynn against Ipswich.
And that's down to... what? No, it's down to you.
Kings Lynn by 4.
I'll go Kings Lynn by 8.
I'm going to say Kings Lynn by 8 as well.
And the last one,
Last one.
Plymouth against Scunthorpe. So that'll be on, next week's show is on.
Plymouth versus Scunthorpe. Plymouth have done pretty well. How are they doing at the moment, by the way?
45-21 now,
So
the score. So
they've won.
they really are tearing Leicester apart down there in Devon.
Okay, so Chris,
It's up to me.
Plymouth versus Scunthorpe.
Plymouth by 10.
I'm going to say Plymouth by 8.
I'll say Plymouth by 10 as well.
There we go.
So get your scores up. We'll collate them.
That's a big word.
I know, yeah, for me. It is.
Richard's gone Oxford by 6. Simon's gone Oxford by 4. Kings Lynn by 8, says Simon. Lynn by 14, says Rich. Tom Howell says 45-45, Stars versus Witches.
Interesting.
Plymouth by 14, says Simon. And Plymouth by 12, says Rich Thomas.
Right, well, we're nearly at the end of the show.
Yeah.
I'd like to say it's been a good show, but actually it's been
It's been
a
subdued,
sad
really.
show.
Yeah,
It's
Yeah.
been a sad show, and I think we should finish on just our thoughts and feelings about what is still incredibly shocking news. I don't know what to
Should
say.
we finish on a minute's applause for Nigel?
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. Yes, Pete.
What does he say? Oh, right, okay. Oh, yeah. All right, is that a private joke, is it?
I think so, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you, everybody. Hopefully, next week we'll have a slightly more upbeat show.
Yep.
But
Have a drink
yeah.
and you say
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Rest in peace, Nigel.
it's here today. Welcome to the Speedway Tavern. Enjoy your stay.